Welcome to Mindfulness, Living the Buddha Way. Today we are discussing criticism, the ancient wisdom behind modern challenges. Here is a hard truth. You can be perfect, and people will still hate you. In fact, even the Buddha was criticized. So if you're exhausting yourself trying to please everyone, you need to hear this story. Here's something that might surprise you. Even the Buddha himself got criticized. In fact, there's this ancient story that proves no matter what you do, someone will find fault with it.
That's fascinating, and honestly pretty relevant given how much criticism we all face these days. What made you think about this?
Well, I was reading about these visitors to an ancient monastery who basically went around rating monks like they were leaving Yelp reviews. And what happened next is pretty mind-blowing.
Oh, this sounds like it's going somewhere interesting. What did these ancient critics have to say?
So, they meet this first monk who's doing exactly what you'd expect, totally silent, deep in meditation, the perfect picture of monastic life. And you know what they said? This guy's useless, too quiet, probably doesn't know anything.
Wait. They criticized him for being too monk-like? That's like criticizing a fish for swimming too well.
Exactly. But here's where it gets even better. They visit a second monk who's basically a walking encyclopedia of Buddhist wisdom, giving beautiful sermons and sharing deep insights.
Let me guess. They weren't happy with him either.
Not even close. They called him a show-off, said he was too talkative and arrogant. And then, get this, they meet a third monk who's taking a well-deserved rest, and they label him as lazy.
So basically, no matter what these monks did, silence, teaching, or resting, someone found fault with it.
That's exactly the point. And this is where the Buddha drops this incredible truth bomb. He says, there is no one in this world who is not criticized. It's actually preserved in this ancient text called the Dhammapada.
You know, that reminds me of modern social media. Post too much, you're attention-seeking. Post too little, you're antisocial.
Right. And here's the really powerful part. The teaching suggests that criticism often says more about the critic than the person being criticized. Like these monastery visitors were clearly just determined to find fault with everything.
So how does the teaching suggest we handle criticism? Because knowing it's inevitable is one thing, but dealing with it is another.
Well, there's this beautiful metaphor about being like a solid rock. You know how the wind can't shake a mountain? That's how we should be with both praise and blame, not letting either one knock us off center.
That's such a powerful image. But how do we actually build that kind of emotional stability?
The key is understanding that trying to please everyone is literally impossible. The monastery story proves it. Instead, we need to focus on our own integrity and let go of seeking validation from others.
So it's about developing inner stability rather than trying to control external opinions.
Exactly. And here's something interesting. Studies in modern psychology actually back this up. Research shows that people who are less affected by external validation tend to have better mental health outcomes.
That makes so much sense. It's like building an internal compass instead of constantly checking which way the wind is blowing.
And you know what's really fascinating? This teaching is thousands of years old, but it's more relevant than ever in our social media age, where everyone's a critic, and feedback is instant and constant.
Well, that brings up an interesting question. How do we distinguish between valid feedback we should consider and criticism we should let go of?
The teaching suggests looking at the intention behind the criticism. Is it coming from a place of genuine care and wisdom, or is it just someone projecting their own dissatisfaction? Like those monastery visitors, they were clearly just in a critical mindset.
That's such a practical way to approach it. It's not about ignoring all criticism, but about being discerning.
Right. And here's another key point. When we stop being so afraid of criticism, we actually become more authentic. We can focus on what we believe is right rather than what will avoid negative feedback.
That sounds incredibly liberating. Like finally putting down a heavy weight you've been carrying.
You know what's really powerful about this? It's not just about handling criticism better, it's about living more freely. When we accept that criticism is inevitable, we can stop letting the fear of it hold us back.
So in a way, this ancient Buddhist teaching is actually a path to modern freedom.
Exactly. And here's our takeaway. Next time you face criticism, remember those monks. Remember that even perfect silence got criticized. Then ask yourself, is this helpful feedback, or is this just the wind trying to shake my mountain? Thank you for spending these moments in mindfulness. If this reflection brought you a little calm, you can return whenever you need. Until next time, live gently